welcome to the Curbside Podcast. I am your host, Jay Kirby. Here's always joined by my lovely co-host, the Master of the Macabre, the Screen Queen herself, Britt.
Hi!
And tonight, we are joined by a very special guest who will be doing a Q&A with us tonight.
Who?
The Delivery Boy, Tony Chini.
Yay!
The Delivery Boy Tony Chini, the best there is, the best there was, the best ever delivered pizza, right here on the Curbside Podcast. How you doing?
Yay!
Doing fantastic. Thank you for joining us, Chini.
Yes.
We really appreciate you coming on.
Dressing appropriately.
Of course. Oh my goodness. So for those of you who don't know who Chini is, he is a independent wrestler, much like myself. Me and him have had a couple of matches together. We've worked a handful of promotions together, and
Your boots?
yes, there's a story behind that. He stole my boots to compete in a lethal lottery. Little did he know what a lethal lottery was.
Yeah.
Let's see the lethal lottery, actually.
That was an interesting concept.
Yes. So to get into it.
Actually, before we get into it, am I too sober for this conversation this evening?
No, that comes later when we talk about Joey Angelo on the highway.
Huh.
I may get started.
So.
Forgive me, but before we get too crazy, Chini, I gotta ask, how have you been holding up with all this, all this madness around us, my friend?
Zombie apocalypse and whatnot.
Just doing what I can to survive, and obviously everybody's still getting delivery, and that's always a good thing. But as far as everything going on, I'm just making the best of what we can, and I explained this to somebody else earlier. Sometimes something has to kind of crumble down a little bit and then be rebuilt, and then it's stronger than ever. So I'm hoping that's what happens.
Very well spoken, my friend. Excuse me. Very well spoken. Very, very good outlook.
I'm hoping that same outlook works on my knee.
We can rebuild.
Like Lex Luger.
Right? Got a nice couple screws loose inside there.
The knee drop as your finisher.
Oh, ooh. Maybe the V trigger, the Kinshasa.
Or the old the William Regal knee.
Yes, the knee trembler. I would love to use the knee trembler.
I love that, honestly. I really think that's a cool move. And a little like behind the scenes, something that people don't know is when I was helping out Zach Ruby one time, we were just messing around and thinking of some stuff with each other. And one of the things that I told him is he should start doing that the knee trembler, but calling it the Z trembler.
I like that.
I think that would be pretty cool. Just a little bit different, and that's a nice move. I like is a good knee to the face. I mean, who doesn't go down from a knee to the face,
Not
I like
many
someone
people.
that doesn't like to go down. I'm sorry it went there, and we're not even 5 minutes in.
I'll remember that next time I'm on commentary and I see that knee trembler come through, the Z trembler.
That's right.
Yeah.
I like the name. I will say I do like the name.
So Chini, as I know a little bit of your backstory, why don't you tell everyone who watches, who you are, where you got started, who helped get your foot in the door at in pro wrestling. Give us a little bit of the Tony Chini backstory.
I like to believe that my story is really fortunate, and honestly, it's cool to be able to say that my story isn't just oh, I thought it'd be cool and I walked into a school and just figured it out from there or whatever. It's
right.
It's a little bit more than that, which is really cool. So when I was a kid, I kind of obviously fell in love with wrestling around 2004 and just started loving it, and watching WrestleMania 20 was my first one.
Same. That's a damn fine WrestleMania to get started with.
Good start.
Yeah, the main event of that show was just outstanding, and like all the matches were, but just watching that, like I was a fan up until that point, and then I thought like that's what I want to be when I grow up. You know, like just seeing the reaction and the story play out. And anyway, I always had this kind of dream in my head that like one day, because I didn't know about wrestling schools when I was a kid. I didn't know how to do it. I honestly just thought it was just a select few people that just were enough, and those were those people. And I wanted to know how to do that. So I thought if I one day can meet a wrestler and tell him how passionate I am and tell him that I want to do this, hopefully maybe somebody can take me under their wing. And that was like just the thing in my head. Right. And then later on in life, I knew about schools, and I always entertained the thought, but just like honestly, like a lot of personal people would tell me, you know, you can't do that, and you know, there's certain people that do that, and it's tough and whatever. And I listened for some reason, but eventually I met 911, Big Al, and I just met him kind of at the bar, and just saw him singing karaoke, and he had the voice of an angel. And I didn't recognize who he was at first, but I knew he was a wrestler, and I'm looking at him, and I'm like, I can't put my finger on it. And he walks over to me, and I was wearing a Stone Cold Steve Austin shirt, and he said, "Hey, I wrestled him." Walks away. And I was like, all right, now I have to know who this guy is. And
that's what sparked it.
Yeah. And I was just like, wow, like, man, that's pretty cool. So I talked to him a little bit, and I met him up the next week and had him sign something for me, and he was really cool. And then I ended up actually going to the same bar as him, and I'm not a drinker, but I just went more for the karaoke there. And I would go there every week, and he was there, and we would just kind of, you know, like hang out on the regular, but I would see him there, sit together and talk sometimes and whatever. No. And eventually, he comes up to me and he said, starting up a school, and that he wanted to be a part of it. And I basically told him that in return, I'll do anything I could to, you know, get trained as far as like promotional work or videos, anything. And there, that's how I got my start. And then, you know, from there, tried to train as many places as I can here and there, and actually did a little bit with Shikara in the beginning of this year.
Nice.
As far as training, I've never been on Shikara, like, you know.
Right.
So just disclaimer, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and out here saying Shikara superstar Tony Chini.
Exactly. Yeah, no. By all means, I'm not saying that. I did one of their classes that was about 3 months, and it was really awesome, and
nice.
I was able to do that, and I'm definitely looking to go back, but obviously with the whole pandemic, can't just rush into that right now. So. Right.
No, that is actually that's a fantastic story. You know, first off, I didn't think 911 had a singing voice, so that's a nice tidbit to know.
He was singing "Turn the Page" by Bob Seger.
Oh, that's my go-to karaoke song. Oh my goodness.
I just mentioned Bob Seger.
Trust me.
100%. That is my go-to karaoke song. So that is something else. I would never have thought.
So on next week's episode, you'll be singing?
No.
Oh, come on.
It's not the next episode. It's on this episode.
Oh, no.
We gotta do it. That's it. I can pull it up right now.
I am too sober to sing
this. But you know
song.
what, Kirby? I do know somebody that could tell you a little bit about 911.
Oh, and who would that be, Tony Chini?
Ladies and gentlemen, that would be big, sexy Dom Truex.
Oh my God, no freaking way!
The son of 911.
Oh my God, this is awesome!
We gotta figure something out. Go.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God!
How worthy. What's up, Dom? Good to see you, buddy.
How you guys doing, man? How you guys doing all this?
We are trying to get by as best we can.
Slowly but surely, my friend.
Surprisingly, Chini came through when
I got toast. I'm sorry.
Chini came through in a pinch. We had one of our episodes kind of fall apart when we posted it, and then he says, I'd love to go on a podcast and talk about wrestling. So we're like, let's get Chini on and let's get an episode put out like immediately. So, but.
And then move this up.
Let's
get everyone in. We're a big family, y'all.
Just gonna make some adjustments real quick.
So, ladies and gentlemen, please pardon the brief interruption. We have yet another guest joining us on our podcast. Blah blah blah. I promise you, I can speak. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Can you see the both of us?
Yes.
Yes, I can see both of y'all.
Awesome. All right, let's get back to it.
So let's continue from there. I was just talking about 911 and how beautiful his singing voice is. And...
Oh yeah, man. Dude, my dad does karaoke. He loves karaoke, man. He goes out literally to 3 different bars every week when they were open.
Oh, that's fantastic.
That's awesome.
My dad has a crazy good voice.
And this is the best part. He always sings to his mom, and that's like the truth. He'll sing directly to his mom and have her sit right up front, and it's every single time.
I think it's 46 years of marriage.
Wow.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah.
You obviously know how big 911 is, right? How big of a person. How tall is your mom?
My mother is 4'11". I
Wow.
was 10 pounds, 2 ounces, 27 inches long.
Oh,
Lord. That is a...
I just got a round of applause, your mom. Round of applause to your mother.
That's a...
Did it with drugs, a lot of them.
Oh.
My little brother's name was spelled wrong on his birth certificate, so he joined the military. Because she was on drugs from after the birth. My dad just walked out with my little brother and was like, "Look at my son." And she's like, "What's going on?" I was in there as like a kid, like with my mom and my dad. Like I was there for everything. And, like I was just sitting there. My dad just left my little brother, and I was in there with my mom. I was like, "What the fuck?" Like,
Oh, man.
Wow.
yeah, no, my dad is crazy. My dad is probably one of the most spectacular human beings you'd ever meet in your entire life. Like he does. Honestly, the craziest stuff you'd ever see in your entire life. First of all, before he was even a wrestler, he was a crazy good athlete. He still holds records in Marlboro High School for pole vaulting and high jump.
That terrifies me.
That's very scary.
High school at 165 pounds and 6'5". And then he started the gym.
Wow.
He became a bodybuilder, and then he became. He ended up just going to Monster Factory when. What's his name used to run it? Larry Sharp.
Yeah, Larry Sharp.
When Larry Sharp was running it.
He was literally just talking to me about this today.
Now let me ask you something. Monster Factory, where's that located at?
Somewhere almost in Pennsylvania.
It's in New Jersey though.
It's southern New Jersey.
Oh my God. What the hell?
I would say probably a good 25 minutes south of Cherry Hill.
Okay. For those of you that don't know, I live way on the other side of Pennsylvania. I'm towards the Pittsburgh area, so.
It's honestly one of the best schools out there, really.
You said you're near Pittsburgh area?
Yes.
Do you know Fight Society then?
Yes, as a matter of fact.
All right, yeah. So I had actually a pretty bad experience with Fight Society.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
I would say sorry, but
I'll share. I'll share because I don't plan on going back. So, this is the thing. I had actually, first off, a really, really great experience with Fight Society when they were called PWS or PWX.
PWX! Oh my God, yeah,
So
funny story, but continue yours first.
Yeah, of course. So my dad lives in the McKeesport section of that area, you know what I mean?
That's actually hilarious.
And what's it called? He brought me to PWX and it was
Pro Wrestling
Extreme. And it was my second indie show ever, and I had such a great time talking to all the people, and it was so cool. And I was like, oh, I could be a wrestler, you know. And then I finally kind of got the opportunity through Beastman, which Beastman is a really great.
Yes, I remember Beastman. I think he still wrestles for them. I'm not 100% sure.
I believe so too. And Beastman is a great person, and this was not his fault. I want to make that clear. Beastman is an amazing person, and I love Beastman. Great. They're great talent, great person, human being.
Crazy good for his size.
Crazy great athletic for his size.
Yes.
And this was in no way, shape, or form his fault. But he being the world champion there, knowing I wanted to work there, me being a friend, me and we're friends, he got me in contact with the promoter, and we had
Jim.
And me and the promoter had a good conversation on the phone. That's the first time I ever talked to him, and we talked about rates, and we talked about maybe even possibly bringing in my tag partner and all this stuff. And then I got the opportunity a little bit later to go there myself, unfortunately without my tag partner that time. But still, I get the opportunity. Beastman told me, hey, the promoter said you can come by, do a match. So I go there. And I told my dad and everything, and my dad was gonna go, and some other people that I know around there, obviously. And so I get there early, and I waited for the promoter. He wasn't there for a while. And when I'm talking to him, he knows exactly who I am. So there was no confusion there. And then all of a sudden, it's like, okay, so you're gonna do just a quick tryout match with this guy, with our local guy here. And I said, okay, that's fine, no problem. I actually knew who the guy was.
Right.
I'm not gonna say any names or anything like that. We don't need to, But anyway, so we did a little match, and I'm gonna say my bad in the beginning. Like the spot that I started with wasn't the best spot to start with, but it's whatever. It was like a bit of a comedy spot, but the thing is my character. That's what my character is. For the most part, it works comedy spots, so I figured it'd be appropriate. Anyway, they were not a fan of it. And, they were very, just anti-character and did not seem very interested. And I ended up not working or watching through the whole show.
Now, if it's okay for me to ask, you can tell me, hey, don't talk about it anymore. But around what year was that, if you don't mind my asking?
That was last year sometime.
Okay, I was going to say, because the last time, because I had started at PWX when I actually started dating my ex-husband. That was roughly about 5 years ago now. And I had also been talking with the promoter because at the time I was looking to go into training as well. But, as things happen with life, things have gotten in the way, and, cars just didn't end up falling into place. And in a way, it almost became like kind of harassing me, like kind of pushing me, like, oh, you say you want to do this, you say you want to get involved, and it's like, there have been certain things that have come up, unfortunately, that kind of required more of my attention at the time. So, but I do know PWX, I do know some of the people that have been through there, and I have the utmost respect for them.
Yeah.
And I think right now, like, they're kind of I think they went through like a little bit of I'm not sure if they went through like a change in management or change in like promotions or anything, but they're kind of trying to go through like a rebuild stage. Go ahead.
I'm personally like one of the reasons why I actually wanted to be on podcasts recently is to tell everybody that my character side is going to be a lot toned down from now on, and that I want to focus a lot more on my wrestling.
Right.
But at the same time, in that moment, in that time, that was my character and that was my thing that I was doing. And if you don't like the spot, I understand that. You can tell me that. But the way that they were doing it was I felt disrespected. Like it was like, oh, you're this guy from out here, and we don't know you. We don't really care or whatever. But at the same time, you asked me to be there. I drove all the way there.
Right. And
opportunity, so maybe tell me, hey, on the show itself, because we did a tryout match. So it's like on the show itself, just don't start that way. Do something else. And then it would have been no issue. And
having a little bit more of a structure like a guidance, I guess.
Exactly. This guy just seemed like he was just almost like basically one of these guys. Like, oh, I've been around for this long, and I know this, and I'm the blah 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 whatever, and you don't know this. We all know something like that. So
I can't stand people like that.
And unfortunately, I think I have a very good idea of who you're referring to. So I kind of understand. And the really hilarious part about it now is I
couldn't tell you any of their names, even though I don't know how long they've been in the business, but I could not tell you any of their names.
Like I said, well, we're not going to mention too many names here, just because
I'm next to some
Try to
names.
protect.
Tom's ready to bury him with shovel
I
style.
wouldn't want to mention their names anyway.
Right, but
Lance Thorne. Come on.
that's the funny part about this now is I had within the last few months, I had accepted a full-time position in Pittsburgh, so I'm like 20 minutes away now from.
Yo, I love Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is dope. Yo. I've been to Pittsburgh. I've gotten trashed in Pittsburgh.
Dom, we're gonna have to save these stories for another time because I can tell you a couple of my Pittsburgh stories.
I didn't know the subways closed that early, and I had to walk like 6 miles to the casino. Yeah, it was rough. We just got like a 12-pack and just walked like over like 6 bridges. We had no idea where we were going. Like one of the bridges were out, so we made like a detour, and eventually we got back of it.
Okay.
But Pittsburgh's awesome.
I have a funny story about it, but again, that's for another time on the podcast or maybe off podcast. But
Just call us whenever. What else?
I got nothing. All I know is I'm almost empty here. So anyway, Tony, I wanted to ask you. I know actually when I had first seen you, like that's how I knew who you were, like as the delivery boy. Was that like something that you were all bring out any other gimmicks before you decided to become the delivery boy, or?
So I only caught the end of that question.
I think she asked, was the delivery boy the first gimmick, or did you have a couple trial runs before you?
Bingo!
Okay, sorry about that. You froze and it didn't, you know?
It's okay. It's internet. I live out in the middle of the country. My Amish neighbors probably have better Wi-Fi than I do.
Yeah, I have siblings out there, so it is for sure. But no, actually, I was actually when I was training at the school with him at his dad's school, we kind of got into the building next door just because like the door was kind of easy to get through, and
the door was just wide open.
And
because that wink never means trouble.
And we went in just to check it out, and we saw this pizza paddle there, and we were talking about possible gimmicks, and we were just kind of saying it. And I was kind of like, I don't know, I don't really know what I want to do yet. And then later on, after the school had closed, and I was trying to think of some stuff for like making videos to kind of like, I figured at this point I had gotten a certain amount of training, and at this point it would be good to focus on a character since I'm not at the school anymore and I have to find something else to do with wrestling. Right. So the character that I decided to come up with was the delivery boy, just based off of that experience, and I just kind of ran with it.
All right.
Okay.
I think it's worked so far.
Like hit people with like thumbtacks and shit.
Ow.
I did that to Pete Corvus.
Whoa. Y'all are...
It's alright because he sprained my ankle later on in the match. So.
Let's see. Thumbtacks, sprained ankle. Yeah.
By the way, if you guys like thumbtacks, tune in a little bit after August. There will be a video put up of a deathmatch tournament.
Ooh.
And I will be running it.
Nice.
It's a secret. You guys will not know who the people are until the video comes out.
That's all right.
One there who everybody knows. They're bigger names. We have a lot of good names. Of course, I will be there. He'll be there.
Nice.
Go see you guys.
I'm just announcing me and you. I don't care. I'm not announcing anybody else. Well, I'm running it. Why wouldn't I be on it? And you're here.
Oh,
I could have played it along. Let me get on that. And you're like, I don't know. We'll find out. Like we could have one of those.
No. Not to be rude, gentlemen. I actually do have to step away for just a moment. I do have my dog outside, so, and dogs are like babies, so I gotta go get my baby.
Yeah, we have to.
Watch this. Ready?
What was that?
Oh.
Are there puppies that I don't see? Puppies?
Dog is absolutely adorable.
I'm talking about four-legged puppies, by the way.
So, speaking of death matches, one of my favorite I guess you could call it favorite moments with both of you guys was the Royal Familia 2XL death match, where you guys damn near killed Onslaught. So
I'm sure he doesn't forgive you for that.
He was 39.
He was 39.
You know, that was the last time that he was able to do anything like that. We killed him, but I mean, this guy was shoving at me.
Yeah, that's terrifying, by the way, Dom. The fact that you can pick up an oven. Not only pick it up, you threw it. I don't know if it was the fortune or the misfortune of being the ref for that match, but I was scared that one of you guys were not going to make it out.
So let me ask you a question then, Kirby. Why didn't you stop us from killing Onslaught?
Yeah, what the hell, man? Well, my tag team partner.
Because it was an Extreme Rules match, and you guys were... I wasn't going to get hurt because you guys hated each other.
They even stopped the Fiend from getting beat up with chairs. Onslaught is an old man.
He was 39.
He was 39 when that was still.
That, and honestly, I thought Dom killed you guys with pile drivers halfway through the match, so I was surprised it went that long.
I like pile driving people.
I like you also.
I'll say it,
I like to give a nice pile driver here and there.
Yeah.
So I have never had to be in a death match, if you will. What is some of that stuff like? You know, fire, thumbtacks, and light tubes.
The heat of the moment, not that bad. Some stuff hurts. I'm not gonna lie, kendo sticks suck.
Kendo sticks are the worst for me.
Suck. I hate kendo sticks. I hate getting hit with kendo sticks.
I don't like that either.
Like I'd rather get hit with a chair straight across the face. I'm not gonna lie. I've gotten hit square with a kendo stick, dude. Oh, I felt awful. Like, I mean, I don't. Of course, nobody likes getting glass to the face. I mean,
No.
That sucked the next day really bad.
I did a drop kick off the second rope into glass, and that sucked.
Oof.
And I didn't even want to do it. It was just like the glass was in the ring, and I just had, you know.
You were just mid-flight, ended up in it.
The most painful thing I've ever been through.
Don't you touch that.
I got put in a crossfit with
Sorry.
my mouth. And one of them fell, and it went right into my lip, and he was fucking going. And he pushed like right to my lip. It hit his wrist, and he like stopped. He like jolted and stopped. I pulled away. I looked like that. I had a hole right to my fucking lip.
I definitely came back.
Years later.
Gracious.
Still sucks for your mouth. I'll tell you that, bro.
So dare I ask for a Cliff Notes version? Because I came back right as I heard something was going through Dom's lip.
I was asking them about their
Death
experience with death matches because I reffed the Royal Familia versus the 2XL death match.
What's your favorite weapon to use in a hardcore match or a death match?
To use?
Yeah. Or just your favorite like actual weapon?
I think I'm kind of partial to trash cans. I think a spot really looks good when you can because trash cans you can normally hit someone in the head and it won't be as brutal as like a reinforced chair, or you can get creative and put them inside it for some kind of crazy spot.
Or you put it upright and give somebody like an FU onto it. And
there you go.
Sucks.
I had a match in North Carolina where the dude put a trash can over my head and then smacked it with a crutch. And then I couldn't hear anything for the rest of the match. All I heard was
Note to self, I'm never complaining about my daytime job again. Where the worst thing that can happen to me is me possibly blowing out my back, but...
No, my yard days were rough.
Ooh.
Dumb, I don't know why we did it, stuff. Like jumping off of like roofs and stuff like that. And we used to wrestle on a 12-foot ring. He's wrestled one. It sucks.
Hey, you settle down. You're okay.
It'd be like me and him having a wrestling match right here in this room right now.
Pretty much.
Like, exactly what it is. Without the ropes.
Yeah, I wrestled 12-foot ring, and I didn't even realize it was a 12-foot ring until I threw a drop kick and I was in the ropes.
Oh, jeez.
Dude, I wrestled somebody my size in that ring. My size. I gave him a suplex in the corner. He literally hit his butt on the other corner.
Ugh.
That is.
Yikes.
I didn't even know they made 12-foot rings. That's crazy.
It's a great tactic for ring placement. It's honestly, because you train it in such a small area, you're so used to doing the moves only in the center.
Right in the center.
That's the only place you have. And then you have minimal movement. So you
Right.
can't go outside the box. So the spots have to be more complicated. But at the same time, in a bigger ring, you'd have so much more room that, like, your moves in the center would look great and your bumps would be phenomenal. It's great ring placement.
Now, let me ask you guys this. Like, just listening for the past couple minutes talking about like ring sizes. Is it easier to work in a smaller ring where you're a little more compact, but you don't have as much room to move, as opposed to having like a bigger ring area, but you almost have to work harder to kind of get to certain positions, get to certain spaces?
I feel like, honestly, like in a 12-foot ring, you actually have to work harder because like, when you have room to work and room to move, then you can really do what you're trying to do and really move around the ring and everything. Like if you paint a picture on a big canvas, then you have all this room and you could paint a nice big elaborate picture. But when you have a really small canvas, then you have to put a lot more like time and detail into that to make it as elaborate as you want on a bigger canvas. So
That makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, I think the perfect size for ring is 18 by 18. I think 18 by 18 is perfectly fine. 20 by 20s are nice. I've wrestled in a couple 20 by 20s. I wrestled in a 24 by 24 one time.
Oh, wow.
Oh my gosh.
That was
I
cool.
didn't think they made them that big.
Yeah, no, people make them all the time, like random rings. Like I went to a place, and they were known for the big ring. Like you went in there, like man, by the time you run the ropes, it's like 6 steps. You're blown up after a drop down.
Whew.
Can we slow down the mat, please?
old like Japanese style matches used to use big ass rings like that.
Yeah, I mean, I build rings. I love building rings. I love rings. I do. I love the way they're built. I love different rings and stuff like that. But like I build a lot of 16 by 16. That's the most average one is a 16 by 16 ring.
Right.
I want to make that ring.
I think
Why are you yelling at me?
I've never wrestled in, but I've wrestled in a 16 by 16. I've wrestled in an 18 by 18. I've been in a 20 by 20, but I've never worked in a 20 by 20. But I do think an 18 by 18 was probably one of the best rings I've been in.
Yeah. I mean, you've wrestled in my ring.
I have.
I wrestled you in my ring.
Yes, you did.
Oh boy.
And
I did.
I didn't want to take a single bump because it felt like bumping on a concrete.
Yeah, right. That was my dad's design.
Oh.
That was W, baby.
I took one bump before the show to get used to how the ring felt, and I knocked the wind out of myself. And I was just like, all right, we're brawling tonight.
Oh boy.
Like,
That
Ali, no bump tonight.
no bump. No, so that honestly is probably one of my favorite tag matches I've been in because that was one of the only tag matches I had with Ulfric. And what's sad, it was so entertaining and the crowd was loving it.
The iPad switching?
Yes.
The shit. That went so over. Every time he rolled up, the eye patch was on the other eye. And it's so smoothly you didn't notice. And
Oh,
it
man.
the hell out of me sometimes. He didn't tell me.
That's the subtlety.
Like,
Gotta love it.
The hell out of me, dude. He was ripping me in the ring. It was the funniest thing ever.
I know you had me in a headlock, and he came in the ring, and you looked down at me with like, hey, your tag partner's trying to get in the ring again. And I'm still in the headlock going, again? Oh, goodness.
Oh boy.
So much fun, and I'm mad that we can't find the footage from it, because I would love to rewatch that match.
Why would we? I mean, we know. I mean, come on. Who even recorded?
Somebody somewhere had to, but I'm...
Some 8-year-old on his Nextel has it.
Probably.
No, it wasn't that long ago. It wasn't.
Listeners, watchers, YouTube community, if you have this footage, I need to see it. I know this exists.
We did actually have a DS in the crowd record that day.
Somebody was probably recording it on like their DS, like.
If you want
Actually, there was one time. It was like one of the first times I was actually ever recognized out in public. I don't think it was the very first time, but it was like one of the first times. And me and Dalton were actually together, and we were still tag teaming at the time. And we were putting up flyers for one of the shows going on. And all of a sudden, we walked past this guy, and I kind of saw him looking at us a little bit, but he didn't say anything. And then he just goes, "Oh my God, that's Dalton and Tony Chini," just like that. And I was like, "What?" And we like turned around and we were talking to him, and we waited out there like outside the Barnes and Noble for like 5 minutes to wait for his sister, and then his sister took the picture for him on a Nintendo DS.
Oh my
goodness!
And when he posted it, it was like this picture was taken on a potato. It was
Right on Rob Theory.
The quality was not very good at all.
Oh my goodness!
I feel like my gray hairs are starting to come out now because I seriously didn't know you could take. I honestly thought that you could take pictures on DSs. Oh, yeah, grays are starting to show now. Surrounded by babies.
Who'd you drop?
Razor
What?
No, not the bad guy. Don't drop Razor.
NWO, baby.
He's the bad guy.
Survey says.
Okay, so speaking of your tag team partners, Tony, I don't want to take credit, but I do have the fun story of how we basically got you and Joey Angelo into UWC off of a joke, basically.
Yeah.
So for those of you who don't know, Chini was already wrestling for UWC. A couple months, actually. I think you were there for maybe about 6 months, almost a year.
I was there probably for actually over a year at that point because we started towards the end of 2019.
That's right.
And there probably in like the middle of like 2018, like towards the end of 2018.
So Chini'd been on the UWC for a while, and he had just started teaming with Joey Angelo, and it was September.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
It was like September, and we were joking about how we were trying to get Joey on the shows, and I think I jokingly said, the next show's the Halloween show. You guys should be the Mario Brothers. And
I remember
everyone in the circle stopped, and they're like, "That's amazing!" And we ran over to Joe Rosenworld. Like, we have a great idea for you. And next month,
Mario and Luigi.
It was Mario and Luigi in a tag team match.
It was adorable, I must say.
Joe Rules. He was all over it. So.
Yo, I love Joe. He is so.
Joe Rules is one of my favorite people on this whole world.
He's awesome.
I love working for Joe Rules, and I'm going to wrestle him one day. I don't care what he says.
Will he come out of retirement for it? That's the question.
This is the thing. He told me
if
I become PWI 500,
I'll book him
then he'll wrestle me.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we need Tony Chini to make PWI 500. Even if he's $4.99.
I don't know.
We'll take it.
500. Joe Rules will have something to argue against.
Tony Chini versus Joe Rules at NWA Power.
Make it happen.
Yes.
Make it happen. Somebody get a hold of him.
Somebody get a hold of Trevor Murdoch. Give him the idea.
You know what? We can make it. The only people that can make it happen, though, it's the people watching this all.
Someone call Nick Aldis, damn it.
But anyway, my mind train just derailed, but
While you're at it, I want to wrestle Slack. How about that one?
Who do you want to wrestle, Dom?
Slack? Oh, I'd love to see that. Slack versus Dom Truex?
I'm not sure who Slack is, so.
Slack.
So Slack is this big.
Oh dear.
Slack is this very large gentleman covered head to toe in tattoos.
Wait. When you say large gentleman, are we talking like large, like tall, like Big Show tall? Are we talking like
I'm talking
heavy set, like Abdullah the Butcher?
I'm talking jacked. Like, I'm trying to think of, like, the closest physique to...
Bobby
to
Lashley, like,
And
big
his
head,
character's
small,
jacked.
like, big body, small head.
He's such weirdly jacked. It's crazy.
He is jacked up with tattoos and a crazy hairdo.
He
and-
looks
Yeah.
like he's in a Yakuza clan.
He's like maybe 6'1", so he's not super tall, but I saw him like have to turn sideways to walk through a door once.
So
Yeah.
Brian Cage.
And he,
Like Brian Cage level jack.
yes.
Like a tatted up Brian Cage.
Shorter Brian Cage.
A short, tatted Brian Cage
No.
with the Lucha Underground mohawk.
I'm slightly terrified now. I actually had to hide for a minute because the thought of Brian Cage is like terrifying to me.
I would love to see
I've
Schleich
never
versus.
showed him before. He's actually really cool. I mean, who can stop
The path of Cage.
He's not a man. He's a machine.
I'm just gonna throw this out here like right now, and like this is just my opinion, dude. If your arms are so big that you can't reach and scratch your own back or wipe your own butt, there's a problem.
He's
And-
just Swiffer.
I've legitimately seen a video of Brian Cage on Twitter at the gym. One of his earbuds fell out, and he was doing this because he couldn't reach because his shoulder was in the way.
I'm-
That's not to hear though. You just move your arm. You just-
Yeah.
I work with
So
the
he had
elderly.
to do it like this because his shoulder was too big.
But like you're massive, and then your head just looks so itty.
I want to challenge the arm wrestling contest.
Yes, someone book this.
Wait, what are we booking?
Me versus Cage in an arm wrestling match.
Yes,
I'm too sober for that.
I'm an arm wrestling fiend.
I'm about it. Let's do this.
Right there. The anchor arm.
Good luck, boys. I'll be standing in the corner recording it. Because, yeah. Anyway.
All right.
Woo.
Steiner to an arm wrestling contest.
Absolutely.
Wait, which Steiner?
Scott. The best Steiner.
Because I know Rick would kick my ass.
Oh.
Okay. Does anyone
That's right.
do we know the math? Do we know the Steiner math? Please. Someone
You see
Tony Chini, when you get in the ring with me,
Yeah.
and you go to arm wrestle the largest arm in Jazz Pacific, you
Oh.
stop.
Oh
Prepare
my
for
god.
Scott Steiner. Holla, if you hear me.
Yeah, 33% chance of winning.
Who invited the chipmunk?
Chance, 65% chance, and you put that, you add together, it's 75, it's 78 and 3/3% chance. Take my 73% chance, and you're 1/3, and I got 165 and 3 chances of winning.
That's like me trying to figure out my productivity at work.
That is hilarious.
Best promo ever, honestly.
Oh my gosh. I'm in tears right now. Literal tears.
I'm
Oh.
still too sober. Love you guys, but all right.
And chug it. Come on, go.
It's my night off.
more than you
Actually,
think
I'm gonna have
so.
the next few nights off because work. I'm not going back to work until next Thursday, which gotta love the essential.
And I'm done chugging. Ain't time.
Oh, come on! I only have 2 of these left. And I actually do want to get up in the morning because I do want to work out.
And grab a beer when you wake up.
Why do I want to grab a beer?
You gotta do them 12-ounce curls to get you warmed up in the morning.
It helps you get your carbs. You burn them off, actually. A beer before you work out is a very good thing.
Have to look into that.
I'm definitely have to look into that because. All right, so
Look.
Oh, go ahead, Dom. I'm so sorry. I keep cutting you off.
No. I just thought of my 2 cents. I'm an asshole.
Go for it. So anyway, well, like I was kind of thinking about something. Say if you guys did not, and Kirby, I'm actually gonna even throw this one out to you. if you guys weren't doing what you're doing now, like if you weren't as into wrestling, if you weren't actually doing it and having it be as huge a part of your life as it is, what other avenues would you guys be pursuing right now?
Probably the President of the United States. Definitely.
Anyone can do. Oh wait, are you old enough?
No, we have proven anyone can do it.
I'd be getting into politics if I was in the rest.
USA, USA. Anyway,
I'd run this country just like Rob Fury ran SWF.
ladies and gentlemen, we have shots fired on the podcast. Not for the first time.
Come over and kick my ass with this Please.
Just remember to duck too.
Yeah, duck two Fury jumper, brother. Let me tell you something, brother.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Wow.
So outside of Dom's political aspirations, Chini, what's something that you think you would be doing outside of the pro wrestling world?
I mean, I'm really not gonna lie, man. That's incredibly hard to say because
that's why I just said the answer. I don't know.
Before becoming involved with wrestling, I told you that I had a lot of people in my personal life that kind of tore it down, and at that time in my life, I really truly felt lost. I really didn't know what I was gonna do with my life.
It's hard to grow up like
and
wrestling.
When I
is
doing that, I knew that no matter what's happening in the wrestling world, no matter what I'm doing or what part I have in it, I have to be a part of it. And so I mean, really, if I wasn't wrestling, then I'd be doing something else involved with wrestling, and that would be something that I'd pursue. And if it really couldn't be any of that, then I just don't know.
I mean, I could do contract. I'm a contractor. I build houses and stuff.
Okay. Wow.
I know that when I retire, I just want to I guess you could say it, but I just want to get a boat and just be a captain of a boat, and charter boats for fishing and stuff like that. I love the water. I love being in the ocean. That's the only thing I love. That's the only thing I love as much as wrestling probably is being on boats and being in the ocean.
That's actually pretty awesome.
Yeah. That does sound awesome.
Yeah, that's after wrestling's over and I know I can't wrestle anymore. That's what I want to do, as my career. If I can
that just sounds so relaxing.
Buy the nicest boat possible.
There you go. How about you, Jay?
I think if I was not a wrestler, I would probably have found a way to be involved in some sort of acting field. I'm not. Surprisingly, for those of you who don't know, I have terrible stage fright and horrible social anxiety. So somehow, some way, I can get in front of a crowd of 100 people and talk like a regular conversation, or do some kind of crazy wrestling moves.
Like when we all hung out that one time in Philly.
Yeah.
We had a lot of fun, I think.
Oh, that was a blast. I had a great time.
Yeah, that was awesome. I mean, honestly, wrestlers are infectious. When a wrestler's happy, I think everybody around them is happy.
Yeah.
Chini's probably happy. Including if we're all hanging out.
Yeah, not all the time, except when people are being big leaguers in the chats and going around because their name's on the show, thinking they're the best. But I mean, that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, and they're on federations that have nothing to do with.
But I've always enjoyed storytelling. I've always enjoyed drama. I tried my hand at writing, and I still do every now and again. But before I really got into wrestling, I was trying to get into filmmaking. I would write scripts, I would cast movies, but I never.
Did you do high school? Did you do any plays in high school?
I was stage crew for a lot of plays in high school. I acted once on stage, and I was in the whole play, but I only had probably about 15 lines. And honestly, it was probably the best choice for me because I was so nervous. about messing up, that the director literally is like, this is the perfect role for you. Just trust me. I was like, okay, here we go.
Aw.
And it worked out.
In high school. I actually did. I did Little Shop of Horrors. I was the voice of the plant.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yes, that's awesome.
And I was the Beast in Beauty and the Beast.
Nice.
And the random goon in Greece.
Very nice.
Awesome. Chini, were you in any type of high school play or drama?
No, not in high school. In high school, I actually I played music with my friends and
Okay.
in a band. But I could tell you somebody that did do theater in high school.
Uh-oh.
Ladies and
Oh,
gentlemen,
man.
Yes, here we go.
Francesca.
Yay! Finally, another female voice. Yay! Yes!
Oh.
So happy. Oh, my goodness.
But no, I mean, me and her were, this wasn't in high school, but a couple of years ago, we did Rocky Horror Picture Show, and Brad, and she was Janet.
Love it.
Really?
You were Brad and Janet?
Yeah.
Oh,
That's awesome.
I love it. I love Rocky Horror Picture Show. That's
We did the whole experience with people throwing stuff at us.
Oh my
everything.
God.
Time playing Janet.
Yeah,
too.
it was her third time doing it, my first time.
But right now, he would play a great Frankenfurter with his hair.
But yeah, no, it was really cool. But yeah, in high school, what was that?
I think she lost her train of thought. No, that's amazing. That's really
awesome.
cool.
Yeah, no, definitely. In high school, I was more of a music player. I was in a band, not band with the high school band, but just my friends. Me and my friends were in a band. But we did a show at I went to youth group. I'm not I went to youth group more to hang out with my friends at that point. You know what I mean? Still they let our band perform there, obviously, just with songs that they accepted, which wasn't all church songs or anything, but just stuff that wasn't all crazy Ozzy Osbourne or anything. I still played Pantera, and we did 3 Days Grace.
Nice.
But we did a couple different things, but it was cool. There was I'd say 200 people there, so that was fun. And then the year before that, Brian Head Welsh from Korn actually performed there.
No kidding.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, so it was pretty cool. That was my thing in high school.
I did football. Right. And I did track, actually. I don't want to joke. I did the field instead of track. I did shot put and javelin, set records in javelin.
Yes, another shot putter here. Thank goodness. All right.
What you do in high school?
Yeah.
Didn't I fucking... Sorry, I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry. Go ahead, please.
Altogether, I've probably done over 20 productions.
Oh, wow.
Just in general. But I also did a lot of school band in high school.
Okay.
Nice.
Play saxophone, trumpet, violin,
She went to
guitar,
band camp.
piano. I was in marching band for all
That's-
4 years of high school.
Nice.
By my senior year, I was the drum major.
That's awesome.
Very nice.
All right.
Okay, so
That's really cool.
we know how we heard earlier how Chini got into wrestling, and we all assume we know how Dom got into wrestling. Frank, how did
I that one day and woke up like this?
That's a no.
just woke up with an innate ability to be a good
By
wrestler?
some weird German guy who was like, express it exactly. And I didn't know what he said. So I wrestled him, and
So
I
I
was
gave
like,
him
I'm
a
pretty
power
good at this.
driver.
I gave him a power driver. I'm pretty good at this. And I wrestled my way to America.
And then he watched WrestleMania 3.
And I watched WrestleMania 3. I decided to, go and arm wrestle Andre the Giant. And I won. That's how I got my claim to fame.
Okay, wait. I gotta ask. You didn't watch WrestleMania 3 live, did you?
I'm only 27.
I gotta ask. I'm sorry.
No, I didn't. I promise.
I think it's official. I'm the oldest one on this podcast. I can say that very proudly. I think I am the oldest one, and I'm not ashamed. But anyway, I'm so sorry. Please continue.
But what were you saying, Jay?
I was gonna say, so we heard Chini's introduction to wrestling.
Yeah.
We heard Dom's introduction to wrestling. Fran, how did you get into wrestling?
Yes.
Outside of being, connected at the hip with Mr. Chini up here.
Well, when I was little, I watched wrestling with my dad. My dad really got me into it. At
Sabu!
first. Yeah. My parents went to the ECW shows when they were still colors. And, like, I don't know what happened, but apparently my favorite was Sabu. And
Nice.
God, that's awesome.
Pointing my finger in the air, just going, Sabu! And
We got to tell Sabu that one time at a show.
No way.
Was it the same show in Jackson where he tried to fight me?
No.
Oh, all right.
No,
It
that
was
was
at
the
the-
CZW.
Wait, Sabu tried to fight you?
He didn't know who I was, and he thought I was hitting on Jeannie.
Oh.
Gotcha.
He was like, if that guy tries to hit on Jeannie one more time, I'm going to stab him. And I was like, what did he say? And I walked over to him, and he was like, you know who I am? He's like, no, come on, I'm Big Al's kid. I wouldn't do that to you. He freaked the hell out. He's like, oh, my God. He's like, I'm sorry. I was like, no, man, it's okay. He's like,
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
After that, every time I see him, he's like, Little Al! Every time. That's
So-
my outside of, like, here, like, my friend group, everybody calls me Little Al in my family. It's bad. And there's actually an Alfred Jr. And they don't even, I don't get it. Because I'm always with my dad. We have a great relationship together. We hang out almost like every day. We work together. He's still healthy as hell. He just came over today. And
He just signed an 8x10 for me today.
Yeah,
Nice.
He dropped by.
He found like an old-fashioned ECW 8x10, and I was able to sign today. It was pretty dope.
That's really cool.
That's awesome.
Hey, wow, we keep forgetting every time he pulls up.
It's cool to go up, like, because I went up just to get it signed, and like, he was in the truck, so I didn't expect him to stay long, but he just sat out there and was talking to me about like wrestling and Paul Heyman and just and like he was just referring to Undertaker as Mark. Like, and I'm just like,
That's so strange to hear.
I was like, this is nuts, you know what I mean? It's just kind of crazy how, like he's just talking about this stuff like so regularly, like it's like the people that we watch and like want to learn about their lives.
Grew up with and idolized.
I
Right.
Blanco and all this is like, wow.
It's weird because like when he talks about him to me, he doesn't say Chris Benoit, he just says Chris. And he just says Eddie. And he just tells them by their first name. It's so weird sometimes talking about it. It's like, damn, like that's so like you grew up in a weird era. Like my dad like wrestled in India. Like my dad wrestled all over like Japan, India. He did sumo wrestling in Japan. Like
Wow.
that's how much of an honor that is for an American to do.
That's
sumo.
huge.
I saw the poster at my dad's house. He's
Especially.
on a sumo wrestling. Him and Barbarian were booked in a sumo wrestling competition.
I've actually wrestled the Barbarian before.
But anywhere, my Barbarian badmouthed everybody and he put his ass. Put it on his ass. My dad was very respectful. He was like, I'm not gonna do that. Screw that. I'm not getting a gimmick. These guys are huge. Yeah, Barbarian. And my dad went up. He did a little bit of joking around. Like, I was like, he was like, hold on, pulling his shorts. He had some sand fall out of shorts and stuff like that. Like, he'd go, like, stand down there. Like, he'd go to grab me, like, he's all greased up. Just get in the crowd. I know you get the crowd laughing a little bit. Then they go into it. My dad walked. The guy's very huge. The guy's very enormous. My dad picked up, he like picked him up for like a second, and he's like, the guy weighs like 500 pounds. And athletic. Ripped my dad up. He just picked me right up and placed me outside. Like, whoop.
Wow.
Like, those guys. Crazy strong. I couldn't imagine doing a sumo wrestling.
I couldn't either. Like, it's like people I think people like when they observe like sumo wrestling like, from the outside, they just think, oh, it's just two really large guys trying to push each other out. I can only imagine like what kind of like actual physical strength it takes. But
That's the pepperoni princess.
I'm sorry. All I heard I thought I heard pepperoni princess, but
that is exactly what he said.
So I'm not.
Oh my gosh, it's so adorable.
Wait, is there a puppy? Because my screen is frozen, y'all.
Yeah,
Yes.
there's two puppies.
It's two adorable puppies.
I like doggies. I have like the biggest sad face right now because I love dogs. So. But Fran, I don't know if you can hear me very well yet, or
We can hear you and see you just fine.
Oh, awesome sauce. So maybe it's just my laptop that sucks. But I had asked Tony and Dom earlier, like if they weren't involved so much in wrestling, like what they would have seen themselves doing or what they probably would have been doing. So I kind of want to ask you the same thing. Like if you weren't if wrestling like wasn't such a part of your life as it is, like what do you think you would probably be doing? Like what kind of things would you probably get into or?
Yeah. She'd probably be an assassin. She's great with a sniper.
Whoa.
Oh. Well, I before I really got into wrestling, I was just doing a lot of shows and plays. If you go to OCC, you probably saw me in the show.
I'll be completely honest with you, hon. I'm actually like I live on the other side of Pennsylvania, so not really.
It's Ocean County College. They have a community theater, and I've been in so many things.
That's absolutely awesome, and I give you a lot of credit because I don't think that that's something like that I know personally that I could do. So major points, man.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's just nice to actually have another female voice to talk to because, like I said, I'm just staring at like 3 frozen gentleman faces on my laptop, and it's kind of creepy. But lost my train, finished my bottle.
Okay, so this is a question that
I don't have to go right now, so I'm gonna be signing off and let these two take the stage.
Alrighty, Dom.
All right, Dom. Thank you so much for coming
on.
Like, this was awesome.
Give us a call. Give me or him a call whenever you want. I don't know, me. I don't care.
Yeah.
But I will see you guys later.
Yeah, most definitely. Thank you for coming on, Dom. Appreciate you.
I'll see you guys soon.
Always. All right. Come on. Oh, wait. I did something.
So, all right. So, Chini and Fran, here's a question my brother asked me the other day, and I wanted to pose it to you. What is your earliest wrestling memory? Like, how far back can you remember? Like the first thing you remember on TV?
Actually, I was just talking about this with somebody the other day, and the first thing that I really remember is seeing highlight clips. I was just flipping through channels and whatever, just trying to find something to watch kind of late at night one night, and all of a sudden I found highlight clips of Triple H and Shawn Michaels' feud from like 2002, 2003, because it was the very beginning of 2004 that I started watching, like January.
Right.
And so when I found that, and I'm looking at like one of the things that just showed was like when they both had the double count out, and they were both.
Yes.
And I forget.
The last man standing match at the Royal Rumble.
And they had the double count out, and like when I saw that, like the highlights for that, like it was just like I was already just like captivated. I was like, what is this? Like that's crazy. And like just. I don't know. Just I've never seen anything like it, and it just like I remember from there. Just I found out like SmackDown when that was on. I found out when Velocity and Heat was on, and I watched everything. And I had a toy room in my house at the time, which I do now also. But just to play with toys and to play with like whatever. Anyway. I had a little schedule on the wall that told me which days and what times those things were on, so I did not miss.
That's awesome.
That's super cool.
Never forget. I always made sure that I was watching Raw, SmackDown, Heat, Velocity, and never missed a show after that because it was just so captivating. I didn't know about all the stuff that she knew about until later on, because my dad, he liked wrestling back in the day. Like, he likes George the Animal Steel and like those.
So like 70s, 80s kind of wrestlers.
Yeah, like, and my mom doesn't like it at all. So they were.
Oh, kindred spirits right here.
That's a trend.
Yeah, so they didn't really like. I didn't learn from it from them. So she
Right.
grew up, with parents that are literally going to the ECW shows. It's a lot different. She grew up with it, where I had to kind of find it myself. And my mom, like, even though my mom hated it, she still bought me the toys, and I still. It's not like she banned me from watching it or anything like that. But when I acted out as a kid, that was the first thing she blamed.
So all
that darn wrestling.
Yep, all that darn wrestling.
Absolutely.
It sounds like a very familiar story to a certain redheaded gentleman on the show.
The only natural redheaded gentleman, I must say.
Oh, Lord.
So anyway, I forget where I was going with this, but all right. Since you remember like heat, velocity, and all that, do you guys this used to? I'm gonna show my age here. It was called Shotgun Saturday Night. It would be like a late night Saturday night wrestling show. It would be like on like 11 o'clock, 11:30. I remember watching that, like, if I was staying the night like at my grandparents, or if I was staying the night at my aunt's house, I would kind of sneak downstairs and watch that, because my family are not wrestling fans. They still aren't to this day. So those were actually some of my earliest memories, is like going down to watch like Shotgun Saturday Night, watching Sunday Night Heat, trying to sneak up past my bedtime to watch Raw. So, God.
I know of Shotgun Saturday Nights. I never watched it, and I never really knew about it as a kid. But like, just like I said, like, always trying to find heat and velocity, and pretty much find anything else. Like, at the time, you also had like the on-demand stuff on your TV, and that was like just starting to come out like in the next couple years.
Right.
So I would go on there, and you would find like some old school WWE documentaries and stuff like that. And I would find books and magazines, anything that I could literally get my hands on and learn about wrestling. I did it. And I would get like the video games, and just like I would see like a character I didn't know, and then I'd have to know about that character, and
See, I wasn't so big on the video games, but I definitely remember the magazines. In fact, I remember the first WWF magazine that I bought with my allowance. It was in August, I think, it was either like 98, 99. It had Road Dogg on the cover, and it was titled like Dog Days of Summer. Oh my God. I feel old. But like.
What was that?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just saying, like, like that. It's kind of funny now, like, kind of bringing up all the, like, just kind of like remembering back, and it's almost like kind of like also funny in a way, like, when we were younger, like, that was all we kind of had, was like whatever we could watch on TV, whatever we could record, like on VHS tapes, whatever we could see on magazines. And now it's like with the expansion of media that wrestling fans, like, we can see anything now. Like, we can see it through streaming medias, like Access TVs, live again, as I said before, on like USA, and now with you guys even on being through YouTube. So it's just go ahead, please. I'm sorry.
No, definitely no. I mean, just to go based off what you were saying, things really changed, like, as far as like platforms, and it's a lot easier.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, when I first saw TNA wrestling on TV, that was pretty much the first time I ever even knew that there was anything other than WWE.
Right.
I honestly, go ahead, please.
I was just flipping through channels exactly like finding WWE. I was at my Nana's house, my grandma's house, and
gotta love Nana's.
Flipping through channels, and one day I just found TNA wrestling. It says on the thing, and I'm like, what, wrestling? And I click on it, and it's a 6-sided ring. They're talking about
Oh.
And Samoa Joe, and I'm like, who are these guys? But then also they're talking about Rhino and Jeff Jarrett and Jeff Hardy. And I'm like, I know these guys.
Yeah.
What is this thing? Just it was crazy, and like it was almost like mind blowing to find out that there was something else.
Right.
And like I mean, obviously, through those old WWE documentaries, I knew that there used to be other promotions and all that. But the way that WWE makes it seem in documentaries is that they bought everything, and that
right.
Like it's like we are the ones. This is it. You know what I mean? But it's not. There's more out there, and it's definitely cool that it's easier to find that now, and and I could talk to somebody from Canada or the UK, and they know who I am, or I've driven all the way to St. Louis, Missouri, 15 hours away from where I live, and they know who I am, and it's just it's pretty crazy that people have that kind of reach now.
Right.
Absolutely.
Now I was just on another podcast because I hope they're listening now. The Tuck Your Chin podcast. They said that they had you on.
Yes, as well. Yes.
They said that they had a great time with you on there. They were super honored to have you. But I was telling them about I went to Kentucky. It was a Lexington Comic-Con. I had literally just stood in line and got pictures with Edge and Christian, my wrestling heroes, and I'm like trying to, gather my words that I was so happy that I had met Edge and Christian, and then some kid walked up to me and like poked on me. He was like, "Hey, aren't you Jay Kirby from GTS?" And I was like, "Holy shit! I just got recognized at a convention." What world am I living? Yes, I am Kirby from GTS. It's super nice to meet you. And then
I have a story kind of similar to that where
go for it.
Me and Dalton went to Ohio. For Bobby Fulton's promotion. And, so they had the Honky Tonk Man there, and they had Jimmy Hart, and a couple other legends. A whole bunch of people were there. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat and Ricky Morton.
Wow.
Great people, and I got to talk to all of them, and that was a really great experience. But one of the things that was kind of cool and funny was we were there with the promoter, promoter of Gimmick Tree, Modern Vintage Wrestling.
Yes.
So
I've met the guys from Gimmick Tree down in Virginia before.
Yeah. But he's done a little bit around. So anyway, he brought me over to Ohio, me and Dalton, and we were kind of like, he kind of was in charge of like Jimmy Hart, like kind of like how Eric Sims gets people like to go to the shows. Like he kind of had that kind of responsibility with Jimmy Hart and a couple of the other guys. So at some point, while all the fans were leaving the show, Charlie asked us, "Hey, can you guys stand in front of Jimmy Hart so nobody bothers him on the way out?" Sure. That's not a problem. So we just stand in front of him. He's just sitting there doing his thing, and we're just standing there. And people are now rushing up to us, trying to say hi to us and trying to talk to us and knowing us. And Jimmy Hart's probably sitting there like, who the hell are these kids? But now I want people to come say hi to me because
did he have the bullhorn?
And honestly, I have to say that Jimmy Hart is one of the greatest professionals I've ever met. That night that I met, he worked so hard, and like he was doing, promotional videos and then running back to sign more autographs. And then there was this one person, and you know how some of the fans get sometimes, they get crazy. And there was this one person who literally called his mom and got him to talk to his mom on the phone, just put the phone right up to his ear. And
oh my goodness.
Pushing it away and saying, "Get the hell out of here." He goes, "Hey baby, thanks for being a fan."
Oh my gosh.
Oh no, you got to take her out.
Okay.
The dog has to go out.
Oh no.
Express this to us.
Bye, puppy.
But yeah. Anyway, that was a cool story, and then we actually got to go out to dinner with him later that night, and so I got to learn a little bit more from Jimmy Hart, and somebody recognized him while we were sitting there, and he was still being a professional and just stayed in, like, he's always in character, but like, he doesn't have to be over the top. He's just a polite guy and just so nice.
That's really cool.
That's really, yeah.
And I've had some similar moments. One of my second or third UWC shows, some parent walked up to me because I was living in Wrightstown at the time, and so I would pop into the 7-Eleven or the Taco Bell, and this parent walked up to me at the show and they're like, "Yeah, my kids and I saw you the other day at the store, but we weren't sure if you'd be okay with us coming up to you." I was like, "No, yes, please." Like that's like super big. I love when fans come up and recognize me, and I even told the kids if they ever see me, they're more than welcome to stop and ask for a picture or something. I got recognized of all places. I got recognized at Don Pablo's one night at dinner. Some kid just walked up to my table and goes, "Are you that wrestler guy?" And I was like, "Yeah."
Aww. That's cute.
Yeah, I've been recognized at work before, and I've been recognized at a couple shows at conventions or whatever, and it's just cool, especially like I said when you're out of state somewhere, and somebody comes up to you knowing who you are already. That's really cool. And also a cool experience I had in St. Louis. I went there a few times, and the last time I went there, one of the wrestlers came up to me and said that his son was a big fan and wanted to talk to me. So I went up to him and talked to him, and he was telling me, "Oh, I hope you come back and face my dad and everything." So, I mean, hopefully I can. Hopefully I can come back and face his dad. That'd be cool,
That's really cool.
Yeah.
One guy in St. Louis named Attila Khan, and if he's listening by any shred of chance, I do want to wrestle you, Attila Khan. I don't care if you think that you could destroy me. I don't even care that you beat Tommy Dreamer at the biggest fan fest in all the Midwest and left him bleeding.
Whoa.
I will take you down 1, 2, 3.
The challenge has been made, folks. Get it out. Wow. So this has been a total blast.
Yeah.
So, it's been really fun, listening to you guys kind of hash over some memories, and especially for someone like me who I don't have experience in this kind of brotherhood or kind of family that you guys have. So being able to kind of hear this kind of hear some of these memories and hear some of this stuff, it's really awesome. At least from my perspective, my point of view. So
yeah, Kirby was there my first day ever at GTS.
Yes, I remember that.
Oh dear.
I remember thinking it was really cool because he was from out of state.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of when I first kind of realized, people from all over the place are coming here to be showcased and to wrestle and everything. And at the time, I had the little bit of training that I had with 911 and I didn't expect to be there to wrestle. And it just so happened that he saw the stuff that I knew, and he saw that I knew enough to be able to work a match with him. So me and Grim ended up working that day, and that was cool. But I mean, Jay helped me out a lot outside, just talking before we went in, and just kind of it kind of made me feel a little bit more accepted and at ease that he wasn't just sitting in his car I don't know this dude's I'm just gonna leave him alone some people do sometimes. So
right.
Yeah. That's really cool. I won't forget that.
That's awesome, and that's something really positive that I can say about Jay is he is he's willing to give anybody a chance. I mean, even with this podcast, when he came to me and asked me to kind of come on board as a co-host, granted I don't know a damn thing about what I'm even doing, but he trusted me enough, and he's been very patient with me. And when work schedules get in the way, he's been very patient with okay, we can make he's a really good person, and he also has a really good heart. So
definitely.
Guys, you're gonna make me blush.
Will your cheek? If I make you blush, will your cheeks match your hair?
Yes. They're already starting to match my hat.
I thought you were
Again, your face is like totally frozen on my end, so I can't tell.
No, I do remember Chini's first day. I remember bits and pieces because GTS, it's very scattered of what's on what day. So I don't remember our first conversation, but I do remember it was a few months after I'd wrestled Dom in the tag match, and then he was there, you were there, like standing next to him. So I said hi and whatnot, and then he told Grim that he had trained you a little bit at your school, and I was like, well, if Dom gives this guy the seal of approval, then clearly he's good in my books.
Well, Dom actually wasn't there my first time there. I actually went there with Dalton.
Huh.
Dalton hit me up, and I didn't even know Dalton. He hit me up about something different, and cause he was local to me and saw that I was making my own little videos, and I guess thought that I had something different. Maybe he thought it was more of a promotion. And I was just honest with him, and I saw that he was on GTS, so I was honest with him. I was like, I don't really have much to offer. We just kind of make goofy videos and stuff. But I see that you're on GTS. How can you get me involved? And he was like, well, I need a ride on Monday. So that was literally it. I mean, I said, hey, where do you live? And he ended up living right down the street from me. And I just picked him up, and then it was me and Dalton talking to you outside. And I told you that I trained with Dom, and you knew Dom.
That's right. So that's right.
That made it easier for me too. The fact that okay, well, these people know who trained, so it's it's like I'm just coming out of nowhere, and I didn't I know how it is sometimes, but I'm glad that I got to learn and grow with everybody there.
Oh yeah.
Awesome.
And I know I joked with you on Messenger before, but I'm really hoping that this knee that fell apart on me gets better, because I cannot wait for me and Hooligan to have a match with you and Joey, because I think you guys are really picking up a lot of momentum. You've kind of helped him crack out of that nervous little shell that he's been in.
I'm trying, at least.
I think you guys are doing great, and I think it's going to be a blast to get the four of us in the ring together.
Definitely.
Yep. Can't wait to see that. Actually, Fran, I even wanted to throw this out to you. I mean, when I started kind of watching GTS, and I've kind of watched how you've progressed and everything, I have a lot of respect for you. I give you a lot of credit, because I don't know of many girls or women that could maybe in kind of how the arenas that you're in, kind of do what you do, and you have my utmost respect.
I appreciate that.
I was just thinking about this. Fran has more wins over me than Tony does. She's beaten me in 2 or 3 matches. I think I've only had maybe 1 match with Chini.
Jay, honey, are you sure this is what you want to admit?
Yes,
I'm kidding, but that it's completely awesome, and I'm actually kind of excited to see how where you go from here. So for me, it's encouraging. It's awesome to see. So
I had mentioned earlier that I started doing the training with Shakara in the beginning of this year, and thinking about signing up for the same class. So
very nice. That's awesome.
Where that goes, and even if it's not there, she's looking into places. So
that's great. Well, I
need to learn and improve.
Absolutely, and
one thing that I do want to say for anybody listening here, just in case, it's always a lot of the things that really bother me these days is one of the things that automatically have to go to what school are you training at? It's the thing is for me, it's I want to learn from everybody I can. So to just stay one place for 5 years, I mean, I understand you're going to learn a lot and you're going to progress with that place specifically and maybe other places, but you're only going to learn that one way. So
Right.
if you learn different things from different people, don't be ashamed to say, I've trained here, and I've also trained here, and I've also trained here. It doesn't make you look like, it shouldn't make you look like, oh, I'm just, picking pieces or whatever. Like, it's, to me, I've learned so much from doing that, and, like, I could learn the same thing over and over again 20 different ways. And
Right.
I know 20 ways, but you know the one way at your school,
Right.
So
Absolutely.
little things like that, like, don't be afraid to step away from one way of learning and be open to learn somebody else's teachings and everything.
Like branch out of your comfort. So to
Exactly.
speak.
Yeah, because obviously if you start with one school, you're going to be comfortable with that person, and for a long time I was just comfortable with Vin and his dad, and that was one thing, but
Right.
once you get in, like, out of your comfort zone and you start, like, and you show somebody something and they could say, oh no, that's not the way I do it, this is how I do it, and something will click in your mind and you'll be like, wait, no, that's the way I should do it, because that's a lot better for me than the way I originally learned. And, like, you can progress a lot that way, in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
It makes perfect sense. It's like with anything you do. I mean, it's one thing to learn and start in one place, but like you can only get so good at one place without branching out and exploring. That's with anything. So kind of open, and you open yourself up to more opportunities that way.
Yeah.
And build a stronger network.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Definitely.
100%. Now I talked about that briefly on the Tuck Your Chin the other day, and I 100% agree with you. There are things in wrestling that it's minute, but like one person taught me this one thing, and this person taught me this thing, and this person taught me this thing. Like the punches that I throw in the ring, I learned how to do them through my initial school, but then one guy showed me how he threw them, and from that point on, that's how I threw them. And then, one guy taught me how to, run the ropes this particular way, and then that's the way I started doing it from that point on. Wrestling isn't, see, that's what I like about wrestling, and Chini, I agree with you 100% again. It's not the way to wrestle, it's all of the little pinches and takeaways, all the little grains of salt, because
But there's trainers that I've trained with that, like, will try to engrave in your brain, this is the way, this is how you do it, there's no other way, this is it, and that's not right. Like,
no,
because I've also worked with trainers that will tell you straight up, this is how I do it.
Mm-hmm.
And also, this is how some other people do it, but this is how I do it, so this is how I'm going to teach you.
Yeah.
And that's respectful right there, because it's like, okay, thank you for teaching me your way, and thank you for also telling me that there's other options out there to be able to explore.
Mm-hmm.
That's
100%.
To do that. Like, I've been to places where they're just like, if you're here, you're here. Every other school is nothing, and we're the best, and
right.
you get the best results here. And it's like, really, the best results are the people who branched out and from several different places.
Right.
Yeah, that's always been kind of my mantra in wrestling, is take everything with a grain of salt. Like I have always tried, when I give anyone advice, being like, this is how I do it. I am not the, I might know a lot about wrestling, but I am not the go-to expert on everything. I am not the guru. I just know what I've seen and know what I've done, and
right.
So I try to pass that knowledge on to other guys.
Yeah, I mean, I try to do the same thing. I would never call myself a trainer or anything like that. But if I go out to somewhere like St. Louis or Ohio and I learn something from someone like Ricky Steamboat or the Honky Tonk Man or Jimmy Hart or anybody like that, why wouldn't I want to try to share that information?
Oh yeah.
Like, I've done seminars with Barry Windham and Stan Henson and JJ Dillon, and like, of course I'd want to share that knowledge. I mean, that's of course I'm not going to share it all, because you got to keep something for yourself. But you can always, like, if you can help somebody and you see somebody struggling with something that maybe you struggled with or you just picked up from someone else, there's no hurt in you saying, hey, let me show you the way that I learned.
Okay, wow. That, like, I'm sorry, but, like, that's, wow. That's
My
wild.
first seminar was with Eugene, and Eugene was amazing to learn from, really, because
Oh, Mr. Dinmore.
But like, yeah, Nick Dinsmore, and he honestly he didn't really put us in the ring at all. We just did a couple rolls towards the end.
Mm-hmm.
All of it was very just like he was talking to us. And for those of you who don't know, I'm not sure if you guys know, but for anybody listening that doesn't know, he did some training over at NXT. He trained some of the guys for over there at the Performance Center for some time.
Did not know that.
He's a good guy to learn from, and I had a really cool experience with him because after the seminar, obviously he didn't really see my character in the seminar, you know what I mean? We were just in like gym clothes, but
Right.
when we were doing our characters and it was like intermission and everything, and I'm going up just doing my gimmick and whatever, just walking around with the pizza box, he calls me over and he asks me, so what are you, like a sleep deprived pizza boy? Or what's the deal? And I said, it's whatever you want it to be, man. And I handed him my business card, and he followed me on Twitter right away.
That's awesome.
I've never messaged him like all the time or anything, but I've messaged him a few times and asked him for advice, and
Right.
he's cool. And in the past, he's actually teased asking me to go to his promotion somewhere in like the Midwest or
Whoa.
That's really cool.
Awesome.
maybe face Eugene one day.
Ooh.
You know what? The sky's the limit, you guys. Anything is possible. But Tony, listening to you talk about seminars, this is just a question I kind of want to pose out. So if you guys could recommend I'm listening to you guys talk about seminars and like learning, like labs, I guess. Who would you some of the ones that you've been to, like who would you kind of recommend going to see, like?
I mean, obviously, based off of what I just said, Eugene,
Mm-hmm.
the chance to learn anything from Eugene, definitely go do that, because he has taught me a lot. And in just that one seminar, like about psychology and character play, like a lot of things that he was saying just clicked. You know what I mean? So sometimes you need that. Sometimes you need somebody to just sit there and just talk.
Right.
And things will just click. I'll say that like JJ Dillon and that he talks, like he has a lot of input. When he did his seminar, he had a lot
Right.
to say, and that's always a really good thing. You know what I mean? Like he's not like, there's some guys that I've been to and it's just a little more silent, but like he always will have something to say, and
Mm-hmm.
He's very straightforward. He was also, for those of you who don't know, the manager of the Four Horsemen, so I mean, he knows what he's talking about. So, I mean, anybody else? I mean, also Jimmy Rave is really cool.
Oh,
Okay.
Jimmy's a great guy to learn
I'm
from.
actually going to be starting something with him like next week, where it's going to be sort of like an online type seminar thing. He's going to be helping me out. So yeah, I mean, those are some cool people, and I mean, if you're in the Pittsburgh area, if I don't know if Kurt Angle's ever going to do a seminar over there, but I know he's from there.
Oh,
Oh.
that would be
That would
amazing
be
to go
awesome.
to.
That would be great. It's unfortunate that Bruno Sammartino is gone. He was also from the Pittsburgh area.
Yes.
And I was supposed to meet him one time, and then he ended up getting pulled from that event because he got inducted into the Hall of Fame that year.
Right.
Wow.
It's really unfortunate because my nonna used to talk about Bruno Sammartino all the time, and I just grew up knowing about him, and it was, obviously, I'm all about Italy with my character, and
Right. Well.
It sucks, but he would have been great to learn from too, and he's from Pittsburgh. Well, not originally, obviously, but he was
Right.
a native.
He resided in Pittsburgh for a healthy click. Now, I think the best seminar I went to was Brutal Bob Evans, who did some time in Ring of Honor and has been all over the indies. I've gone to two of his seminars. One was like 90% in-ring work, just helping people, I guess the right word is clean up their style, their in-ring work. And then literally the second one was all about marketing.
Okay.
All about getting your name, getting merch made, basically making a profit off of your wrestling. And I could listen to Bob talk for hours. And such a nice guy, so super down to earth. So
that's cool, man. And that's really cool. It's good, like I said, to absorb any part of what anybody knows, and it's good that he's able to say, all right, well, let's do all this stuff here, and then let's break away from that and learn about this, because some people are very just, this is what I teach.
Right.
Yeah.
One thing that I did want to say also, if you're ever visiting this area and Shikara is doing any master classes.
Okay.
They're basically like giant seminar days, and like sometimes they even do like a whole weekend out of it. And you basically like learn from several of their people, and they'll all come in and teach you. It's like a different thing, and I've never gotten the opportunity to do one of those, but obviously learned about it through the course that I did and some other people that have done them. And that is highly recommended in my opinion. Anybody from Shikara, they're very good, and it's just a great school. Very cool.
Okay. I've seen actually quite a bit on social media regarding Chikara, and like I keep saying, if I ever get any more free time, like once everything's like completely, with this whole like COVID
zombie apocalypse.
Yes, our zombie apocalypse, as we've mentioned before on this podcast. Once everything lifts up, like I definitely have plans on being over on that side of the state. Definitely much more often. So, I'm excited.
If you're in that area, that's one of the top schools in the whole country, really.
Okay.
That's Cesaro trained there, and
right.
So many great names have come out of there, and my dog's about to shut off all the lights, so hold on.
Dog saying, you know what? Okay, it's bedtime. Let's go. I think the dog's trying to call the end of the podcast.
No, what it is
neighbors
that
are setting off fireworks.
Yeah, the neighbors are setting off the fireworks.
Oh no,
baby. Well, I have one sleeping next to me on the couch, and the other one sleeping on the floor right by the door.
Yeah. If only she could fall asleep right now. She's freaking out.
Well, granted, mine are a little bit older. The one that's sleeping by the door, she just turned 9, and then my big Staffy over here, she's 4. So they had a rough day. My family, like my parents, for example, they just left for the weekend. They're doing their little thing, and they didn't take the dogs with them. So like they're kind of angry, maybe a little sad. So
yeah.
Dogs are like kids, man. So, my mind right now just, but
we gave her a treat, so hopefully she'll be happy.
Dogs like treats, so I think I'll be smooth sailing from here.
I think so too.
They're pizza treats.
Aww.
Those are the best. Like I know Piper, my staff, she loves them.
Okay, good.
Okay. Okay, so I guess kind of looking at the time here, we're coming up on an hour 45.
Yeah, we've been going a hot minute.
A hot minute, I call it sizzling.
I kind of brought some more guests onto your show, so
that's okay.
It's really awesome, like curbside. We welcome everyone. So
we were joking about it, like before going on. I was like, literally just stand over there, and when I start announcing you, just come in.
That's awesome.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
And I was here.
Well, I just want to tell you guys, at any time, if you ever feel like coming on, you guys are always more than welcome on with us. So,
100%.
Just get in touch with Jay. He'll tell me like what time I need to hop on, and I just need to figure out like, okay, do I need to work the next day or not? But like I said, anytime. It's been. This was a lot of fun tonight, so it was kind of nice.
Yeah, I'm glad. It's cool because I've done. I think this is probably my fourth podcast in the last week, and like. It's cool because I got to talk about some of the same things, but a lot of different things.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people had different things to say, and it's cool because, like, if you viewed each one of those podcasts, you'd find out different things each time.
Mm-hmm.
And story over and over again, and that's always cool. And I'm actually, I think I'm supposed to be doing another podcast coming up soon with Completely Damaged.
Okay.
And I used to watch them actually in high school.
Okay.
Interviews with like a whole bunch of crazy WWE guys, like old school WWE stars and stuff. But I did a few kayfabe interviews with them.
Oh, nice.
Like at shows, but I never really done like a full on like shoot style whatever. So we're gonna plan something like that. So keep an eye out for that.
Sounds good. All right, just one last question, because this is something that's kind of been brewing on the back of my ale-addled mind. Like, I'm on my third bottle right now. Dream opponents, like all three of you, if, like, be it UW, like, any promotion, independent, like, TV, super professional, if you guys could get into the ring with anybody, like, living, dead, anything like that, like who would be it? Like who would be like your ultimate dream?
I'd have to say Eddie Guerrero.
Oh, that would have been that'd be good.
Because it's just, I mean, he could make anybody look good. I mean, I mean, he was just, in my opinion, he's my favorite of all time, and like in my opinion, he is the ultimate professional wrestler. As far as he had the speed, he had the professional wrestling, he had the character, he had the connection with the fans, and it's like I forget which podcast it was, but I was talking with, I think it was this guy Dylan. He was a cool dude, and we were talking about how like when he died, like he cried and I cried, and it's like we didn't know Eddie Guerrero personally, but the way he presented his character and connected with the fans cared that much that it was really like losing a person to you. And it was, and I mean, it is losing a person to, of course, but it's just like, it's like losing a person that was like a part of your family almost. It's
absolutely
to have that connection with fans. Not everybody really has that. Like I can't say that there's any other like celebrity deaths that have felt that personal to me.
Right.
That was, that's the main reason why I'd love to face him, because of the connection that he's able to do. I would love to learn and thrive off of that.
Yeah, that's a really good one.
That is a really good one. What about, how about you? Is Fran still here? Because like I said, I'm so sorry. My computer screen is still like frozen like a block of ice.
I'm here.
Okay, hon. How about you?
I'm having a real tough time choosing between Lisa and Mickey James.
Ooh, okay.
Those are both fantastic picks.
Yes. Exactly. Grew up watching them, and I feel like they have a lot to teach to the females coming up in wrestling.
Yeah, like I feel like they both were never really like the average diva.
Yeah.
Right.
James and Lita did a couple little things where you could be like, oh, that's diva, like, the bikini shots, whatever. But that's the thing. That's whatever. Their characters and personas were more wrestling based. So
around that time too, like that's what like that's what they were expecting, like of female performers were like more of that diva. Ugh. I'm not a fan of that word, to be completely honest.
And everybody talks about Yeah, and everybody talks about the like the women's revolution being started with Bailey and Charlotte, but really, like if you think about it, Trish Stratus and Lita main evented Raw before any of them did any of that.
You're right.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to go a little bit further back, and I'm going to bring up a name I'm sure you guys have probably heard. Luna Vachon.
Yeah.
Like, Luna growing, like, Luna was my idol. Like,
Luna
not
Vachon.
even Sable. Like, Luna was, like, she was different, and she didn't care.
Her persona and her voice and just her look.
You know, I listened to her. I had listened to her talk in shoot interviews, like with Gangrel at the time, like way back before she had passed on, and I learned like she had adapted like her voice to kind of sound a lot like her uncle Mad Dog Vachon when he was like the way he would do his promos, like just that gruff, growly kind of vocal. But
yeah,
she was another like. I feel like if she was given like if she was even still around, like maybe at the time, like at the end of the Diva, end of the stage of the Divas and going into the secondary revolution, I feel like she really could have been a huge part. And I'm actually, if I had the kind of training, like she would probably be like my dream opponent. Like I would have loved to have gotten into the ring with Luna, but I'm gonna get off my horse now. Jay, I'm so sorry.
No worries. So I have three, and they're all for different reasons. One, because it's still possible, and I would love to have it happen one day. To whoever would love to book this, I'd love to wrestle Chris Hero.
Oh, okay.
Because not only did I kind of steal his finishing move for the past 5 or 6 years, but I've always looked at a lot of stuff that he does as this guy that doesn't look like he should move like he does, and he just kind of like defies physics. Plus, he's got such just a knowledge of wrestling from all the people that he's learned from. So I'd love to wrestle Chris Hero one day. But as far as dream matches that will never happen, I would have loved to wrestle Dean Malenko, because I think he is one of the best, just pure wrestlers out there.
Throwing this out there, didn't you go to his seminar by chance?
Yes, I did go to a Dean Malenko seminar, and I was so nervous, and I was so scared because I wasn't even sure if I had the confidence to go. And then a certain co-host bought a ticket for me to go, so I had to go.
You're welcome.
I got strong-armed into going to a seminar that I was scared to attend.
You went.
It was amazing.
I kicked your ass.
It really was amazing. And then for just the last one, just out of the magnitude, the person I think of when I think of a pro wrestler. Because they had charisma, they had in-ring talent, they had on-the-mic talent. Macho Man Randy Savage.
Oh my God, yes.
Oh yeah.
That.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That would be awesome.
Macho Man, cream of the crop. Oh my God. Actually did that ridiculously well.
Oh my goodness. But
who wouldn't like fight the Macho Man, dude? I mean, he's a legend, and he's also one of those guys that can make everybody look good, you know?
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Of course.
And again, another one that I feel like we lost like way too soon. Like.
Oh yeah. That one hurt me probably one of the deepest ones, because Macho Man was always my favorite. My earliest memory is when I was like 2 years old, and I elbow dropped my mom off the couch.
Wait, what?
Yeah, she was lying on the floor with my dad watching TV, and 2-year-old me climbs to the armrest and just flying elbow, bam, landed right in the middle of her back, and my dad goes, "You can't do that. You're gonna hurt Mom." Good job.
Yeah. That's really funny.
Oh man. But this, trying to catch my breath here. This has been an absolute blast. Thank you so much for coming on. Like I said, you kind of came through in the clutch because we had like 2 or 3 episodes planned that like just fell apart. And when you brought up on Twitter that you wanted to talk about wrestling, I was like, it was like a sign. I was like, all right, we need to get Chini on immediately.
Yep.
And it worked out perfect.
Definitely, and like I said, it was cool to be able to do a couple different podcasts and be able to answer different questions for each one. And
oh yeah,
this has been a good last week here. So man, this is a good cap off for it. So thank you. We had a lot of fun, and I was able to bring a couple people on for you. So
Absolutely,
always welcomed.
All right. So before we cut, go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Say again. We couldn't hear you.
Is this the part where we put over our social medias?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. I was just about to
plug everything. Shameless self-plugging.
I was gonna say, you know what, guys? It's time for last comments. Any last remarks you wanted to make? We're gonna keep our mouths shut. Let y'all have the floor.
All of the Twitter handles.
Yes, all the Twitter handles.
My Twitter is @Francesca Chini. That's just Twitter. If you want to follow me on Instagram, I don't really post a lot of wrestling on there, but I post a lot of just my life and just random things. But that's @ArtsKid. So that's that for Instagram.
You have pro wrestling tees now?
I do have a pro wrestling tees. Oh my god!
Oh my gosh, you do.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Up there.
A brand new design.
Wow.
Pro wrestling tees. Look up Francesca Chini.
The
Or
Spaghetti Queen.
T-shirt.
Look up the Delivery Boy Tony Chini on pro wrestling tees, of course. We also both have Cameo.
Cameo.
If you go on Cameo.
You're Cameo too.
Yes, of course. If you wanna book us on Cameo, you just go right on Cameo. You look up Tony Chini. You look up Francesca Chini. You can look up that guy Lucha La Raza. He has a pretty cool account. And you can get
Lucha La
Wait,
Lucha La Raza is still alive?
Yeah. He's still alive and kicking. He's wrestling. He's one of the best wrestlers out there. You know.
I just thought he was out with Curry Man somewhere. That's all.
Nope.
Lucha La Raza is hot on the streets when it comes to Cameo. He's sold. Now this is just what he's told me at least. He's sold about 300 cameos.
Wow. You go, Lucha.
So, it's definitely worth it to go check out Lucha La Raza's Cameo. But other than that, if you go on Instagram, you can look up @Tony Chini. If you go on Twitter, @TonyChini96. If you go on Facebook, facebook.com/Tony Chini stub your toe. You can go on YouTube. You can look up the Delivery Boy Tony Chini's official YouTube channel. Or of course, find me, her, and of course, Jay Kirby sometimes on the GTS Wrestling channel on YouTube. And why not? You can find me right here on the Curbside Podcast as well.
Follow Big Dom on Twitter.
Follow Big Dom Truex on Twitter.
And follow on Twitter.
Yeah, follow Onslaught too.
Yeah, because we gotta have both members of 2XL. I mean, you can't just have 1XL. You have to have 2.
He goes through Flaming Tables, so definitely check him out. But overall, I guess that's all I want to plug, and I just want to get out there that wrestling is coming back, and things are starting to move, and you're gonna see a more aggressive side of Tony Chini, and you're definitely gonna see a more calculated side of Tony Chini. So look out for it.
Ooh.
I'll definitely be on the watch for that one.
I definitely will.
Thank you guys so much for coming on.
Yep, thank you for having us.
Greatly appreciate it.
Yes, thank you guys so much. This was awesome.
To all our listeners, thank you for listening to the Curbside Podcast. You can find us on Twitter at
Curbside Podcast.
Curbside Podcast. You can find me on Twitter at TLB Kirby or Instagram at TLB Kirby. You can find my lovely co-host.
You can find me on Twitter at ScreamQueenB0326, at least as far as I can remember. You can also find me on Instagram. I am at QueenB326. You can find me on Facebook through Curbside Podcast.
So, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and subscribe on YouTube. Thank you guys so much for coming curbside with us.
We'll see you next time.